Hi, I'm Nyron Burke, the co-founder and CEO of Lithero, and I want to talk about a topic that comes up. I'm seeing it more in the media, but also even something that we think about here at Lithero, which is how to balance human accountability and the use of artificial intelligence. Right? As AI becomes more advanced and more widespread, there is a trend towards giving it more work, which I think is great. But then what does that mean for ownership? What does it mean for humans being accountable for what happens with the AI? And so I want to share a couple points in terms of how we're thinking about it and also invite a discussion. We certainly aren't the only ones thinking about this topic, and so we'd love to learn from you in terms of what you're thinking about in terms of accountability and the use of artificial intelligence. So here's how we think about it. The first thing for us, and if you've seen our other videos, we talk about HOME, the human-owned AI-assisted operating model. And we are implementing that here at Lithero. And one of the key points about that model as it relates to the topic of accountability and the use of artificial intelligence is that human ownership isn't optional. That it's not just a strategy or something that we're saying, it's just kind of the way things are. And if you think about technology, right? Recently there were some issues with CrowdStrike and other tech platforms. And at the end of the day, the blame, the focus wasn't on, hey, it's the code's fault, or hey, it's the system's fault. People were looking for other human beings in terms of what they did, in terms of what their accountability was for that problem happening. And that's just the way our society works. Because code or AI, neural networks can't be held accountable, there's no way to do that. Humans are always accountable. And so whether or not you were the one who wrote the code or actually introduced the error, at the end of the day, you're going to be responsible. And so it's not optional. And so just realizing that someone, either inside your company or outside your company, is going to hold some other person responsible for if something goes wrong, that's part of the realization is that that's a key thing, right? So you can't really, even if you're using AI, at the end of the day, you're still responsible, and that's just not optional. It's kind of point one. So, first, human ownership is not optional, right? We totally understand that, and that's how our society works. You always want to hold a person responsible, and there's no way for us to hold the machine responsible for anything significant, right? But the second point, as we think about human accountability and artificial intelligence, is that ownership or responsibility is not necessarily the same thing as control. Right? So being responsible for an outcome doesn't mean you are the one necessarily doing the outcome. And so at Lithero, there are lots of things that are automated, but there's always a human being who's responsible for it, but we totally understand that that human being may not be the one who has literally executed that task. Whether it's a task that's been delegated to a human to do, who is sort of in that person's team, or it could be an AI that's doing the work, or some of our other tools that we use that are full of automation that we build to do different tasks, right? So you are owning it, you're responsible for it. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it, right? Because the temptation of saying, hey, I'm responsible might mean I have to do all of it, and that's inefficient, it's just not gonna work, right? So you're still responsible, you can never let that go, but it doesn't mean you have to do everything or execute on everything. What it does mean, though, is even though you're not necessarily controlling everything, and it's kind of point three as we think about accountability, how we think about it here, is that you do need to have some kind of visibility so that you know what's going well and what's not going well. Because if you own something and you're responsible for it, that means you're managing it, and you can't manage something if you don't have visibility to what's actually happening, right? And so as we use AI and we think about how to integrate it with human responsibility, the question is, well, what are you looking at so that you can know how it's going, right? And if you aren't doing that, then you are failing in that responsibility. So even though you don't control or make the thing do what it does, you have some way of knowing what it's doing and knowing if it's going to cause a negative impact, if it's working well, right? There's a way for you to kind of have visibility in terms of what's happening. Because without that, you can't really manage, you don't really have true ownership. And the other thing that we talk about and think about is that to really do that, and to the implication of being of visibility is that you have enough knowledge of the area in which the AI is working to be able to know when it's going wrong, right? So if you're managing an AI and you don't know what good looks like, or you don't know what bad looks like, or you're not aware of what some of the risks might be if something goes wrong, then it's really hard for you even to know what to look at, what standards to set, how to monitor it appropriately, right? And so if you're managing something that you don't have the expertise to set those standards or create the right kind of metrics, right, or guardrails, then get some help, right? Find out who does know what it looks like, what does good look like in this area, and have them set the standards, and then maybe you can take over the ownership and responsibility, but you kind of know what good looks like and what bad looks like, right? And so those are just how we're thinking about it at Lithero in terms of how we manage our work and manage the use of AI and integrate it in some of the things that we recommend to our customers. So again, I'll cover them really quick. Again, right, human ownership is not optional, all right? You're responsible at the end of the day. Ownership is not the same thing as control. You don't have to do everything yourself. Ownership requires some visibility. You have to be able to see and understand what's going on. And then you need some level of expertise so you can have the right metrics, have the right guardrails to know what good looks like and know what bad looks like, right? That's how we think about it here. Again, we're not infallible, right? We're AI engineers, and we're trying to do the best that we can to both advance the field and bring benefit to society while also being responsible ourselves. But we'd love to learn from you and get your thoughts on human accountability and AI. If you want to learn more about what we're doing here at Lithero, please visit us, www.lithero.com. Thanks for listening, and hope to hear from you.